So once my wife and I got married, we went to Maui for our honeymoon, stayed a couple of weeks. That's where it all started. We were not planning on conceiving at that time, it just happened. So once we arrived back to the States, my wife was thinking possibly she was pregnant, and so I'm going to let her tell the story. Yes, I found out that I was pregnant on January 12th. It's a day I'll never forget. I was so scared and so excited at that time. We were just married, and I was pregnant, so I felt, a little odd. I was feeling odd. I hadn't had my period, so I went and bought a pregnancy test. And that evening, I took it, and of course, the line turned pink. And I thought maybe he would be excited, and so I ran out and I told him that I was pregnant, and he said, "You're kidding me." So I had to convince him. I took him into the bathroom and showed him the pregnancy test. And we just stood there and looked at each other, thinking, oh my goodness, how that's going to change our future. We were both in shock. So we did go to the doctor, and they ran the necessary blood tests. And for sure I was pregnant. I experienced some bleeding a couple months into my pregnancy. And the doctor at that time told me that I had a 50% chance of miscarrying. And I will never forget that. I also had a sonogram done. My uterus, there was some abnormalities, bicarnate. So at that time, I was put on light duty for bed rest for about a week because I had a job that kept me on my feet. During that week, I just prayed that everything would be okay. My interpreter was having a difficult time understanding me at my doctor's appointments, so that was an issue. The interpreter had a hard time understanding me, had a difficult time understanding my finger spelling, and it was important for me to have consistency in services, so I wanted, one or two interpreters. So I was given a referral, and then I requested that specific interpreter, and I had that interpreter for the rest of my pregnancy. And I'm going to let my husband take over the rest of the story here. That moment, like she said when she was bleeding, that was a very frightening moment. She'd come out of the restroom and she showed me the blood on the toilet paper. So of course we went to the doctor. We were really concerned. My mom came in, family came in to be supportive. We had the sonogram, found out everything was okay, but that we had the bicarnate uterus issue. And from that time on, we were very observant about the things that we did. The doctor watched us closely. And I know my wife went through a lot of hormonal changes, and that was really difficult for her to go through. I remember sometimes she would just fly off for no reason. It was hard for me to kind of get a grasp on what was going on, but we did make it through that. And, speaking of that, when my husband says, I had to be very careful about the things that I would eat because I would vomit what I would eat, and I had never been through any of that, so I was very limited in my diet, and I had to be careful about what I was eating. And like I said, we had just gotten married, we were looking for a new house, so there were so many life changes going on at one time. And you're right, at that time we were looking for a home. We lived in Burnsville at that time. We were close to her family. It was probably about a 45-minute drive. So it was a stressful time. We were looking for a place closer to work as well, and we did find a house, and we purchased our home. And then on July 4th, which was about a week later, we celebrated the holidays. We had no issues. We even went swimming. A couple of days later, my wife started bleeding. And her water broke, and it was a couple of months early. We had no pads on us at that time, so we used a sock. I called the doctor to let them know that we were on our way to the emergency room. And she had changed, 4 or 5 times. We were at the apartment, and there were just, puddles. And I could see red puddles along the way. So I floored it. Fortunately for us, the hospital was really close. I was excited, I was scared, I had just had a mixture of emotions. And once we arrived to the hospital, the nurse, the staff, they were ready. They knew we were coming. They knew what was going on. So we went in, and I'm going to let you take over. So yes, we went in. The doctor checked me. He said that my cervix was not dilated, which was great. It was the same doctor that had seen me the day before. So the doctor came in and said, he was disappointed to see me there. So he sent me to another hospital where I was, put in the ICU or the NICU. The ambulance took me there. We went to the high-risk floor. I was there for a couple of days. And everything seemed to be going okay, so they just sent me to a regular delivery floor and just kept an eye on me. And then I'm going to turn that over to my husband. Would you say that was about a month? So the baby was born. The baby was small. We were hoping to make it to 34 weeks. My water broke at 29 weeks. So they gave us, pictures and helped us to be prepared for what we were going to see. And she was on bed rest for about a month. And that 1 month was just a really difficult time for her. She had a bad rash. The doctor says that sometimes that happens to women, that they'll get a pregnancy rash. Later, we actually did find out that I was allergic to the amoxicillin and another medication that they had given me. So they were trying to prevent, infections. And so it was an allergic reaction to some of the medications that I was given. And it started, on my wrist, and then it kind of just spread throughout all over my body. And I was concerned, the baby was going to be born early. I have a rash. I haven't been able to work for a month. So I was very stressed out and feeling really, really overwhelmed. It was really difficult for me, too, staying at the hospital. It was difficult to sleep all night over there. And I would get up and I would help take care of my wife. She would have me get up every couple of hours to help her change her pad that was on the bed. And we also have a couple of pets at home, so I was running around trying to take care of the pets and trying to take care of my wife and be helpful. So it was a difficult month to get through. Our parents, our family, they were supportive, and that was nice. And as the time drew closer, I remember at about 32 and a half weeks, that the doctor was saying that we were going to have to, the baby was going to have to come before their normal 40 weeks. I was running a fever at that time and was not feeling well. And the nurse came in, and I remember her telling me, because my temperature was up high, that the baby had a good chance of becoming ill as well, so they wanted to go ahead and deliver the baby by cesarean that night. And of course my family was there, and everyone was there to be supportive. They placed a catheter in. Baby was also breech, so we had that going on. And then, like I said, I was allergic to the medications, that I had a rash. At that time I had a midwife. It was the first time I had met the midwife when I first came in, or that doctor when I first came in. And of course, during that time my husband had to get dressed in, protective garb when he went in, and I was comfortable. My husband was there. I knew everyone was there to be supportive. And I can't remember exactly what medications they gave me, but I'm going to let you take that over. Yeah. So at that time, I had been used to kind of the way we were living at that time. And I remember feeling a little confused, and I didn't really know how to react to what was going on. And I know that they gave me an epidural. He says, thank you. So they did give her an epidural. And, I was able to watch that, and, I had my camera. So once they were ready for the C-section, I was okay. So I had my video recorder, and I'm standing there. And, the doctors are moving around, and I'm trying to get footage, and they're thinking that maybe I'm woozy, and no, of course I wasn't woozy. So I didn't want to miss anything. I wanted to be able to capture every moment from A to Z. And so when he was born, I remember his head was stuck. When she's saying, yeah, well, leave his little legs come out first, right? He was having a difficult time getting him out because he was breech. Right, that's right. You were having contractions at that time, so it was more difficult to get the baby out, I guess, because of the stiffness of the muscles. So the doctor was trying to wrestle this baby out, and I know that the doctor knows what he's supposed to be doing, and so the baby was finally delivered, and of course the baby was crying, and the interpreter let me know, hey, the baby's crying, everything looks okay. Baby looks, normal size. Because it was just not, shortly before, maybe a week or two before, that they were telling me that the baby was going to be small. Around 3 pounds or so. This is what the sonogram showed. So when the baby was delivered, fortunately the doctor was wrong. The baby weighed, 5 pounds. He was 18 inches long. So for a premature baby at 32 and a half weeks, that's a pretty good sized baby. Yes, so we got to see the baby. Baby was healthy. I was so relieved. I felt like I was intoxicated. I really didn't even know how to react. There were so many things going on, and it was really hard. I was excited, and at the same time, I'm a dad now. And the baby was delivered, and I think at that moment it had a great impact on me. I was so thrilled and so excited and so relieved, and the baby was taken to NICU and was put in an incubator, kept overnight. They watched him closely. Baby was healthy. And yeah, that was your first. Oh, okay, yeah. Go ahead and take over. So after the baby was delivered, I stayed in the delivery, on the delivery floor. I was given medication. I was able to see my baby. I was so excited about that. The doctors took me to see the baby. And it hit me so hard when I thought for the first time, that's my son. I saw the baby in the little incubator. I was able to see his little face, and touch him a little bit. The doctor told me that I needed to go back to my room. So I saw him for the first time about, it looked like 1:30 in the morning. My parents were with me and my husband were with me, and I had a terrible time sleeping at night. I was wore out, and I kept thinking about my newborn son, and I really wanted to see him, and my body was swollen, and I had been cut on, and I had tubes running in and out of me, and from IVs and whatnot, and I was able to hold my baby finally. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And then the doctor came, told me that the baby was really healthy.